think the more individuals we get committing to an oath of integrity and competing with honour, speaking up when things are wrong, then I think the strength of the industry and its spine can only get stronger, and hopefully the trust factor in the industry will also rise.
Hello, I'm Magali Laguerre-Wilkinson. Welcome to Ethics in Business in Their Own Words. ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, has teamed up with Carnegie Council and CFA Institute to produce this interview series launched in 2018 for Global Ethics Day. The series features global business leaders exploring how businesses are preparing for an ethical future in the face of challenges presented by globalization, technology, and human psychology. Today, we're talking to Emilio Gonzalez, Group CEO and Managing Director of Pendal Group. Headquartered in Sydney, Australia, Pendal is an independent global investment management business focused on delivering superior investment returns for clients through active management. Pendal was originally established in 1969 under the name BT Australia Limited and became one of the most successful funds management businesses in Australia. It rebranded to Pendal in 2018 and has expanded globally through its wholly owned subsidiary J.O. Hambro Capital Management and offices in London, Singapore, New York, and Boston. Tell me, what role does your company play in the community?
We like to participate as often as we can, and we play a number of roles. I'm really pleased to say that the staff is very engaged in raising money, fundraising around the world, whether it be our London office, our US office, or our Sydney office. We have community committees that run functions, and we raise funds for cancer, cystic fibrosis. One charity we're very proud to be part of is a charity that's close to our heart, which is running for premature babies. We had a previous staff member who unfortunately passed away, but he had twins when he was becoming a dad for the first time, and he was very lucky that the hospital he was at had the right equipment. But we discovered that not every hospital had that equipment, and so the business over the last few years has been raising money to ensure that every hospital has the right equipment when premature babies are born. In addition to that, we help and people who aren't as privileged as ourselves in the industry. In our London office, we invite children from schools in a less economic area and allow them to come in, and we share with them what we do, what a typical day in the office is, and encourage them in terms of getting into investment management as well.
And do you do that because there's a way for the industry to evolve, the face of the industry to evolve a little bit, so other communities are more exposed to this business that's otherwise deemed, typical of one particular person? How does your company work to create diversity in the industry it serves?
Very good question. Unfortunately, our industry has a very poor record of diversity, particularly at the front line. Not so much in the back office or client service or marketing, but in the front line where there's the day-to-day management of our clients' funds, very dominated by male and not a lot of female participation. One of the activities and initiatives that we have introduced recently is an internship program particularly targeted at females in their last year at university. And so we've gone out and started a program to bring in females to work with our investment teams to get them to better understand what we do, how it's done, and give them an introduction and a leg up into the world of funds management. Out of that program, we've actually been able to hire females into our investment teams, and that's one way of doing it. There's a number of other activities and work that we do. We've been a founding member of a program run by Mercer's around future impact, which they've put in place to try and educate the workforce on the female side about how to get into the industry, what's required, what's the process to ensuring that there's a career there for females and males. And so we've been part of that important initiative. And we're also part of Women in Finance. There are a number of initiatives and membership that we participate to try and increase the diversity of participation in what we do.
In the context of Australia, because this is where we are, how does your company work to support minorities who are already in the workplace? So you were talking about the presence in the back office and in other sectors. How do you bring them to the front?
Well, on the diversity front between male and female, there's a number of programs, as I mentioned, around internship programs, but also in terms of supporting the staff, generally, we do have a very flexible working environment. We do allow staff to work part-time if it works for them and it works for us. We allow them to adjust their hours. I think we have very generous maternity leave and paternity leave. And so all of that, we certainly have policies in place. One thing we did introduce some time ago now is what we call contribution leave. And that is additional leave on top of your annual leave that you can use for anything beyond what you would normally use for annual leave. So there was a period there where we were getting requests from people who had religious holidays when it wasn't a public holiday and other reasons to take time off or the day off for personal reasons. And we felt that that wouldn't be part of your annual leave. We'll preserve that and allow them to take up to 5 days in additional contribution leave for areas that they choose, and that may well be for religious reasons or other reasons.
So that's separate from everything else. So that's an additional perk of being part of this organization.
Yes, and so what we found with contribution leave is that people were asking requests for either religious reasons or for personal reasons, and we didn't want to differentiate one group versus another group. So we said, in addition to your annual leave, you can have contribution leave, and you can decide what you use that for. One other reason we did that is we had staff that were volunteering in terms of state emergency service. So we've got a lot of volunteers that do work for a lot of charities. And who do you choose whether they have a day off or not? And so, again, the contribution leave is there to assist them to be able to use it and not eat into their annual leave.
It plays a role. So now I want to shift a little bit to technology and advancements. How does your company help management, employees, and providers adapt to technological change?
Very good question. We're in the process at the moment of thinking about how technology impacts what we do. And I think asset management is very poor at it, mainly because what we saw is investment performance. People don't come to us because of our great technology, although I think that is changing in terms of our ability to service our clients and deliver information in a much more effective way using technology. So one of the things that we are thinking about is how do we better improve our experience with clients and use technology in our processes, and that's also a change in mindset. And there's a couple of things we've identified to help people on that journey. A lot of it's got to do with education. And we've brought in leaders in the industry in firms that technology is the core foundation of what they do, and they're at the edge of it. So we've had people from Facebook, we've had people from Google come in and talk to us about their work environment and how they use technology. For them, that's not a threat, it's an opportunity. And so getting people educated in terms of how to use it in a way that's your friend as opposed to your foe is an important part of that journey. We also tap into external people in the fintech world to come in and talk to us about what's happening out there in terms of the way the market's changing, in terms of the way businesses are changing and how technology is changing. So there's an education process which we run, and it's a process that we know we've got a long journey ahead of us to adapt to a world of new technology and how to use that. And to a large extent, it is scary. We don't know what we're heading into, but we need to bring our people along that journey as well.
The main ingredient of advanced technology these days anyway is AI. That's what everyone talks about, and many people feel threatened by it and others embrace it. How is AI embraced or accepted at Pendal?
Look, I think it's early days yet, and one of the areas that AI, well, it's probably two areas AI can be used in an efficient way is better use of looking at data and analysing that data very, very quickly, that the human capability is unable to do so, and come up with responses around that. And also, how can AI help you be more efficient in processes that you do very manually on an ongoing basis? I think there's still a long way to go in terms of our understanding of it. And it's fair to say that asset managers and fund managers are quite cynical or wary about the latest trend and the latest thing. And so we've been through many cycles. I remember the internet boom where there was a lot of new technology. It was going to solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. And so I think our adoption of AI will happen gradually, but we need to be convinced that it adds value to what we do. But I also see its application in a lot of the processes we do on a manual basis that is quite repetitive. We can certainly do a better job.
And how do you talked about the cynicism. How do you manage that?
Well, I think it's healthy. I think for those of us who are in investment management, cynicism is an important ingredient of a good money manager. And you learn that through experience. You learn to question and challenge and have an open mind and try and do away with biases. And part of that technique is questioning the obvious, questioning the theory, questioning the statement, looking for different angles. And so I think healthy cynicism is an important ingredient of ensuring that we're making the right decisions for our clients.
So, again, in the same neighborhood of what we're talking about, how is your company helping with retraining all of your employees who need to adjust to an increasingly automated world?
It comes back to, I think, understanding the journey we're going on. And it's no different to the development of the internet or the development of any technology that will change the way businesses will work. You need to embrace it and you need to understand, well, what's my role in that? And one of the things we need to do is, if there is an opportunity for people's jobs to change, how can we train them up into a new process or a new world where technology becomes an increasing part of what they do? And so whether it be AI, whether it be new pieces, it's not new. This is the way businesses have evolved for many, many years. The new technology comes. Remember the days, I remember pre-Excel days, pre-Lotus 1, 2, 3. Everything was done manually. And then this new technology piece comes through and all of a sudden, all these people that are great at manual maths are not as valuable because you can do it on a spreadsheet. And so what you need to do there is educate them in terms of rebuilding their skill set and using what they do to a whole new skill set. So it's important to embrace it and educate and train people up as the world embraces different ways of doing things.
What is the greatest ethical challenge facing your company and your industry in general?
I think trust. I don't think that will come as a surprise. We're in a business where we manage other people's money, and the number one thing you need to have is trust. That's been challenged, particularly coming out of the financial crisis 10, 12 years ago, and in the Australian market even more so now given the recent Royal Commission over the banking and finance. And so the big challenge we as an industry as a whole is ensuring that we can gain the trust of our clients, the trust of our customers. We're entrusted with managing their wealth, managing their money, and it's not always apparent that that trust is there. And so we need to put programs in place or act in a way that will put our clients first, and that will take time. And over time, hopefully, we can be seen as a profession that can be trusted, not only as a business that is focused on making money for shareholders.
And how do you enforce that trust? Is it as simple as taking your clients out to lunch once a month? I mean, how do you do that? How do you build the trust?
It comes down to the culture, and it comes down from the leadership. And so trust is, you see it every day in what you do. It's not a bunch of words or on a piece of paper. The leader, it has to start from the very, very top. And the meetings that you attend, the decisions that you make, the words that you use, you need to demonstrate integrity, transparency, honesty, and be upfront with your clients. So every piece of communication, every piece of activity, every piece of work that you do comes back down to, are we ensuring that the decisions we're making and the direction the business is taking is putting our clients first, and secondly, is it enforcing our confidence in the trust that people have in us to manage their money.
So you're on the board of the BFO. Explain a little bit the role. Tell us about the BFO.
The Banking and Finance Oath was a child that was developed out of the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And it was put together by industry leaders who felt that trust needed to be recreated in the industry. And at the forefront of that was individuals making an oath in terms of their commitment to behave in an honourable way, integrity, compete with honour, and also support individuals who maybe see things that aren't correct in organisations and speak up around that. In 2008, I was in investment management, and it was a tough period, and I could see that markets were very much in free fall, and things were starting to come out in terms of companies and financial institutions that could have done a better job in terms of managing people's money. So the banking and finance oath, I think, goes a long way to creating individual responsibility. There's a lot of codes of conduct, there's a lot of industry codes, there's a lot of company codes. But to a large extent, they're ones you have to take to participate in the industry. The difference with the banking and finance oath is just a commitment to yourself. And you can regulate markets as much as you want, you can put industry codes as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's the individual behaviour and activities that people take at the front line that matters the most. And what the BFO is trying to do is ensure that that bar remains high and make a commitment from individuals to ensure that they're acting in the most integral way they can.
So it's really to keep everyone on track, in a sense, in your industry. Have you seen some shifts of people not maintaining that oath?
I think I've seen shifts in people wanting to make a commitment to that oath. We've had over 3,000 signatures, and more recently we've started a campaign that the more who sign, the greater the spine and the stronger the spine. And so I think if more and more individuals make a commitment to themselves about competing with honour as well as speaking up when things are wrong, then the industry as a whole will be strengthened by that, and hence that strength of spine there. So even with the banking and finance oath with its limited resources and early stage of its life, I'm encouraged by the uptake and the encouragement that people are willing to sign up in a voluntary manner to hold up a certain standard.
So the more you sign, the stronger the spine.
That's correct, yes.
That's a great saying.
Well, it's true as well, and I think the more individuals we get committing to an oath of integrity and competing with honour, speaking up when things are wrong, then I think the strength of the industry and its spine can only get stronger, and hopefully the trust factor in the industry will also rise.
What does the BFO board do?
To me, it raises the individual standard as opposed to committing to a code of conduct within the industry. And where it really makes a difference is when you make a commitment to yourself and you make an oath to live up to a certain standard, the bar is high in terms of living to that. And so when you come to a decision at a business level or a decision on a day-to-day basis, and you remind yourself of the oath that you've taken to act in a certain way, that carries a lot of weight. Because if you don't, you let yourself down. And so it is a good check and balance from a commitment and a high bar to ensure that the integrity is withheld.
I want to read one of your quotes. The values that the business represents can only become part of the culture of the business if it's clear that the CEO not only talks about them, but demonstrates them through his or her actions. What is a typical day for you, Mr. CEO?
Typical day?
Yes.
Well, up early in the morning.
And what's early?
6:30 in the morning. I'm fortunate enough I can make it to work within half an hour. I'm in the office by 6:30. So I powder my nose pretty quickly and shower very quickly. And then I'll probably have 6 to 8 meetings during the course of the day, respond to emails, probably head home at 7:30, have dinner with the family, and then more often than not, work to about midnight. Rarely do I get to bed before midnight.
Well, because you're communicating with the world.
Communicating with the world. It's a 24-hour business. I like to sort of keep the pulse in terms of what's happening. Also, people will send you requests and emails, and it's good to get back on that night if you can, otherwise you lose a day. And so that'll take me through roughly around about midnight. and then back up at 6:30 the next day.
Just to put a little bit of a human face on the CEO, the idea of the CEO is so on top and untouchable and inaccessible. But how do you run things? Do you interact day to day with staff here, no matter what level? Or
Yeah, look, I think it's very important to have that interaction. I've myself personally come from a career path that's benefited from my superiors interacting a lot with the staff. And I'll call our business as a big business, small organisation. So we only have probably about 350 people globally. I probably know 320 of those by name. And I do try and make an effort to talk to as many people as possible. People know I've got an open door policy. They can walk in whenever they want. I do staff briefings. I'll go around and chat with people, and I'll attend all the company functions, the quiz nights, the raffles. So I think as a CEO, leadership's important, connecting with the people is important. One of the challenges as a CEO is to understand what clients are saying. And what I've recognised is that the higher up the chain you are, the further away you are from clients. So one of the challenges is to how do you bring yourself to understand you've got to go out of your way and have programs and meetings to ensure that you're staying in touch with clients. Another way of doing that is meeting with people within the business. We have a flat structure. There's probably between me and the receptionist no more than 3 or 4 levels of hierarchy. And so we try and keep the structure as flat as possible. But one of my biggest enjoyment is going out and talking to as many people as I can. I think and I also like to encourage people in sales or marketing or the receptionist. You do well, you do your best job. People will recognise that. They won't tell you, but they recognise it. When that opportunity comes, you may have that opportunity to step up and go to the next stage of your career. So one of the enjoyments that I've had as being CEO is seeing other people progress in their career. And I think that's one of the benefits and one of the enjoyments and great things that a CEO can do is to help people on the careers and see them grow as well.
I was reading in the FT over the weekend, they did a profile of Warren Buffett. 88 years old. He says he's living his best life right now. The only thing he's stopped doing is driving at night, which I think is safe for everybody in the world. Yeah. Where do you see yourself in a few years? Do you see yourself still in this position, running things? What's the next thing for you?
It's a good question. I would like to think absolutely. The role that I have is one that I think you work for all your life to be able to achieve, and it's because you can make a difference. There aren't too many roles where you can genuinely make a difference. And here, in terms of the role that I fulfill, makes a difference to all our clients, makes a difference to all our staff, makes a difference to the community. You can direct, you can have an impact on the culture, you can have an impact on staff, the values, the purpose, all of that. And so I think it's a great job. And as long as you're contributing, you're enjoying it, the work's not work. Every work has its days. It has its issues, has its challenges, but it's rare to be in a role and a position that you can make a difference to people. And so as long as that continues, I'm not sure why you want to do anything else. And I can see Warren Buffett at 88, he's enjoying what he's doing, he's having an impact, and he wouldn't want to do anything else. So I get it, I understand it.
When you became CEO, what did you make the Emilio Gonzalez touch here? What did you change? Did you have to fire a lot of people? Did you have to take in a lot? What is your personal touch in this role?
Before I took on this role, I was at a previous organisation for almost 20 years. And so I came with an open mind. Just because you've done something a certain way at a previous organisation for 20 years doesn't mean it has to be the same in a new organisation. And I came with an open mind to listen, to take it all in, to accept it will be different, to accept the culture may be different. What I've learned is that there wasn't a lot of difference. Similar clients, similar issues, obviously in the same industry. The way things are done are different. The culture is different, but not that much different, because we're in the same industry looking after people's money. So the real change wasn't necessarily around the people or how we do things, but the direction of the business. And so one of the biggest changes I made was it was predominantly an Australian business, 100% Australian business. And I felt we needed to expand offshore. And so the biggest initiative we did was we bought a business in London, in J.O. Hambro Capital Management, and that expanded our offshore exposure. It's been very successful for us, for the J.O. Hambro staff, for the Pendal staff, and now 85% of our revenue is offshore. It's been transformational in a way that we probably did not feel that was the case. And the challenge now is what's the next step going forward. And so it's really about the business strategy, less about the industry, the people, and the culture was different because it was somewhat of a different business, and we've preserved that along the way as well. And so that's been the mantra, so to speak.